Hello people, welcome to another episode of Bryce Talk Show. I decided I wanted to do 2 episodes of the Bryce Talk Show this month. Now, the second part of Bryce Talk Show we're talking about this month is we're going to do a little review, a year review on 2023. Now, I'm not going to just be talking about me the whole time, but I'm also talking about pretty much the world, talking about AI, because AI was a big thing in 2023. Maybe talk sports and all kinds of other things. Before I start, I just want to mention that the compilation for the TikTok 2023 compilation for YouTube will premiere on New Year's Eve at approximately 7:30 p.m. So I'll have the link that below, and you can turn reminders on for that premiere. It's going to be great. Might actually do a part 2. I think it probably deserves a part 2. But there's a lot of great stuff this year on there. So without further ado, hope you enjoy this new episode. Now, I want to start us off. Most of you know I was still in Florida until the 5th, January. I was in Florida still. I got up then on January 1st, a little later. We stayed up for a lot late, partying at the Fisherman's Village at a fireworks show at the end. And then, the first was just busy, just not busy at all, just, swimming and doing all this stuff. Eventually packing because we were going to leave Tampa, so we headed to Tampa, like I said. I'm not going to get way too much into it because I've already discussed about some of it in the first Bryce Talk Show of this year. So if you want to know more about that trip, then you can go back and listen to that. But on the 5th, we leave, and as sucky as it is, I head over home, get packed, stuff unpacked. A few hours later, Papa and I head over to Scioto Downs in the casino and play a little. Now, I actually stayed there for about maybe 6 or 7 days there with Grandma and Papa because I figured I just got home from Florida. I'm going to stay with them for a little while. So, that's basically what I did. I got to tell you, the funny thing that happened was I was flying my UFO, this little drone UFO type deal, and Grandma was sitting on the couch with her sandwich. She had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Not sure why she would sit on the couch and eat it, but that's what she's been doing. That's what she has done. And I fly the UFO. Now, the wind of this UFO is pretty powerful, so it blew like pieces of the sandwich onto the window and everything. And to be honest, it was quite funny, really. I mean, we had a good laugh out of that. I did too. And when I put it through on Facebook, everybody had a good laugh out of that. So, I mean, that was quite funny. She could be just eating a piece, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Another thing I wanted to discuss was the fact that my TikTok page was privated for so long. Because for some reason, it was privated for a long time. And then some of my stuff, like when I first showed my Deal or No Deal slot machine, that was gone. And some other stuff was gone. But I eventually got it back on the road around April, so I got it back to where I had it. So that way, because every time I kept posting, not everybody was watching, so I was like, wonder why. So only people who were watching was everybody who still followed me around this point. And I don't know, it was weird. I gotta watch the Bengals and the Bills rematch because Damar Hamlin being transported to the hospital and then the game was canceled. Which, by the way, I gotta tell you, I've hanged out and watched a lot of football. And, I know a lot of people get hurt on football, but I had a game on TV where you actually have somebody get hurt and then it cancels the whole game. I mean, that's like crazy to me, right? I was in Tampa just hanging out on the bed watching the game, and all of a sudden, the game was canceled. And, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs did win the Super Bowl, and I was able to hang out and watch that. Usually I can't because usually I'm at Mom's, and, of course, I have to leave because they drag me to church and all this stuff, and I just want to watch the friggin' game. So, Grandma and I go out and take a walk because it's so nice. In the 50s, I mean, it wasn't like that, but still a decent, like when it wasn't so bundled up in a whole bunch of scarves and all this stuff you do in the winter. Which I'll get to the warm winter here in a little bit. And then I come in and we have watched the Super Bowl, and it was really great. I didn't really know who was going to win that game. I mean, they're both two good teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. But at the end of the day, Kansas City won the Vince Lombardi Trophy. They won the game. They won it all. Now they're NFL champs. And that week I actually stayed at Grandma's till Monday because I was standing there hanging out with them and watching the game. Hardly do I ever get to do that, to be honest with you. Ever. And that same Monday, it was a pretty nice day too because I went out and I hanged out swinging. Grandma and I were hanging out and talking. It was like 50s, 60s in February. I mean, that's pretty great. And I know some may say, oh, that sucks, it's winter, it's supposed to snow, blah, 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 blah. I know that, but like, there's got to be some time where it's got to be like that. Because we had some cold days, and we had some warm days too, but it's better than just being cold every day. I mean, dreary every single day. Till like, March. So, Grandma and I go out to the swing, Grandma and I hang out, and then I go home. Now, most of you heard about Paul when I told you he had this freaking rupture aneurysm. Not in the brain, but in the stomach. So I get home, I have my food, whatever I had in, I think it was Jersey Mike's or something, and Mom get a call saying Papa had this freaking aneurysm. I said, God damn it. Out of all the people, so I went upstairs and I said, no, God damn it, and at first I thought, well, actually, he gets sick every time he travels, but this thing is a big deal, this thing is a freaking big deal. Because he was in the North Carolina and then he gets airlifted to Tennessee, so that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You realize that? So the grandma goes to Tennessee around that time. She's been there for like 6 weeks, and that's how long that he had been fighting for, trying to get rid of this thing. Until, he left us in the freaking March 25th. So she goes over there, and in late night, on the night of the 13th, I said, you actually went down there late like that? Because, Dad told me the next day that she had left and, didn't get there till early in the morning, to, freaking Nashville, I think. So I said, geez, I'm sure they had to be tired. I knew they were tired because they had done a lot of travel and they didn't have time to pack or nothing. Eventually, Dad kind of helped with packing, later on, and had someone send stuff down, but I mean, that was crazy. So, but yeah, I mean, eventually, they had subdued him, and then he still couldn't even talk. So, I mean, he could kind of show his emotions, but I just had to make him aware that I was talking to him, because Grandma had him on the phone. So that was crazy, ladies and gentlemen. That was crazy. I think because, of all the stuff he'd been doing, he basically, I mean, he didn't eat a lot of good stuff. I mean, he ate a lot of junk too, but he also never stood still a lot of the time. He didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't do anything of that stuff. And he always drove to Florida and North Carolina every freaking 3 months, and he never flew on a plane. But I think some of it had to do with the fact that he had COVID 2 years ago and survived it. But the good news is I was with him from the February 9th to February 12th. So, yeah, that was kind of crazy to me, and I'm sure for the rest of the freaking family because they had to put up with that stuff. So, long story short, the rest of the story, he left us a month later. Now I want to talk about this weather we've been having. So this winter was quite mild, as I said before. Even in January when we were in we were in Florida. Well, until I came back it was cold, but when we were down there it was in the 50s or something in Ohio while we were in Florida. So it would be 60s while it would be warm down there. So, and then I thought, well, maybe that'll be good for when we come back home. Nope, a cold front came and made everything cold on January 5th. So that was great. But then we've had some snow days and some cool days. But to be honest, especially in February, a lot of windy days and a lot of warm days. 50s, 60s, even days reaching 71, 72. Even when Grandma was in Tennessee for the last 6 weeks, it was some days were low 80s in Tennessee. So that's something. And then, so a lot of this stuff has, got to do with the fact that it was warm here, and now in the El Nino pattern we've been getting. So, but if only most winters were like that, at least with days I could be out and not bundled in like every day or week. Some days it'll be great to be in out. So, I think that it would be pretty good. And then of course March comes and there's a bunch of band of snow that comes. And we've had a few severe storms in February. Like we had a storm of February 27th, which I have recordings of NOAA weather radio activity then, and alerts and stuff back from then. We had that tornadoes. Some tornadoes came around. Now, I want to also, before I talk about anything else, I want to get into this AI stuff, because most of you know that AI took off like a rocket, especially when chatbots like ChatGPT came, and it all took off like a rocket. Now, I did a Bryce talk show episode talking about AI and ChatGPT and stuff. So that's also up there if you want to listen to that. But basically, came around November 2022, the ChatGPT, and then somehow next year, which would be this year, 2023, it just blew up. Everybody was talking about it. So, I was interested to see what it can do. And I mean, it does some things, writes stories, does movie scripts, tells you how to do some things, it can write sample of code, it can whatever you think about. Now, the only thing that I noticed it can't do is tell me how to make big bang snaps. No, not the little kitty bang snaps. No, I'm talking about the big little poppers, the big poppers. Now, I can understand about why it wouldn't want to spew out how to make other explosives like fireworks that could be dangerous, some firecrackers or anything that may be really dangerous because you're working explosives. But the worst thing that could happen is you could be stung by the gunpowder if you play with the bang snaps sometimes. Like, if you could be too close to it, it'll maybe hurt for about a minute or so, and then it'll be all right, nothing happened. So, I mean, that's the least bad thing that could happen. I mean, it does feel crazy if you get hit by it, but yeah, so it doesn't tell you how to make big poppets. I know some of it has to do with gunpowder, because those have a whole bunch of gunpowder. It's crazy. So, to me, I think at least it should tell how to do those. And I also want to talk about another part of AI, voice cloning. I talked about voice cloning in a few other episodes, but the biggest thing that's great is 11 Labs, because 11 Labs basically is great at mimicking tones of people talking and sounding exactly like them. And I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that it is fantastic. If you never tried it, you got to go and get it. At least buy it, see what it's like. Because I'm telling you, it's pretty great. Now, most of you remember seeing these AI president videos where people made videos of Trump, Biden, and all them where they're hanging out, doing adventures, playing games, and all that stuff. Yeah, that was kind of made with 11 Labs too, which was quite funny with the trend that came online in February of 23. And I've cloned a lot of stuff with 11 Labs, like Howard Stern, that Bop It XT, or that Bop It with Shake It, Spin It, and Flick It, and Dane, and just a lot of folks I've cloned with it. And it's shown pretty good result. More than when I found Voice Copy, which is now Cloney. And, there's a lot of stuff, and it sounds really good. The only problem with 11 Labs is it has a character quota. So it has a quota when you get the starter plan, which is basically $1 the first month, and then the next is $5 every month after that. But your quota of characters is 30,000. So you can type up to 5,000, which I wouldn't recommend. I would not do that, because then your quota of characters would go pretty quick, and then you'd have to wait till it renews to reset it, and then it'll reset it by itself. But I would just generate short little characters and maybe put them in one file. That's what I usually do. So that's the only thing, and I think you can only clone like 10 voices, which is crazy for the starter plan. But 11 Labs is, great. And you also have like RVCAI, which runs locally, which I haven't tried, and it's just as good as 11 Labs. It's a free little tool. I think it's on GitHub, but you can really get anywhere else. Open source. It's free open source. So RVC is good because it's like speech to speech, not writing anything. You can speak into it, and it also can sing, so that's another thing. So just some of these voice cloning, and then we have some art generators. Like there's an app I have called Artist.ai, and and when I type a prompt, it can generate an art and an image. So I generated a few things. Like I asked, hey, generate something that looks like a solar eclipse from the Midwest, like a total solar eclipse, which would happen next year. But I said, hey, generate a total solar eclipse that would be visible to the Midwest. See what that looks like. And, it has a little image there. And, so basically that's what it does. And I also want to talk about AI covers. When you make covers of songs and have different people sing it, that stuff became wild too. And I know there's stuff that you could do that back then, but it's even better. I found this one recently about a few months ago called Voice of Me, which I talked about before, VOICE with an MY.ai, and it can do you can do covers with it, but you can also have them speak. You don't have to have them sing anything if you don't want. But it can do AI covers, and it can do stuff like that, and you can make covers of songs with models that people make. You can upload models, and then people who can use those models to do stuff with it. So there's a lot of models on there already that have been uploaded that people have made with it. So and I've done a couple AI covers with it, and it's pretty good, it was really crazy. So now I want to talk about times like March and April. Grandma and most of the family came back home on the 25th, March, the same day, Papa left us, he came home. Grandma she was sick, and part of it had to be because of the hospital. Everybody was sad, but, I was staying there for the rest till like Monday, so I thought, I'm going to stay there because everybody's coming home. I hadn't, seen a lot of them folks for, 6 weeks, so why don't I just stay? So that's what I did. Now, on the 30th, we had a celebration for him at the gym in Marcos, and we put one big party with a slideshow and just talking about him, and then eventually we ended it off with sending balloons up in the air, with firecrackers. And luckily we didn't end up getting in trouble because we're doing this at a restaurant, and if it was any more firecrackers we did, we probably would have had the cops called, because how Westerville police is. They wouldn't, play at all. So, yeah, so just great party, great fun. And I also want to talk about some DXing, because I got a lot of tropo over the summer and spring. Now, I know I talked about DXing in a few other episodes, but to be honest, this is, I think, pretty much the best good year for DX. Now, I wouldn't say about skip, because it's kind of hard to do skip, because the signals could fade away, like, between maybe 10 seconds or like 20 seconds, so if you don't know what the idea of a station is, if you get something from far away, unless you could see it from like an RTS, if you could like have vision, or you're sighted and you could see that, But with Tropo, reception lasts for a little longer. And with Tropo, I've been able to receive as far as Kentucky, West Virginia, and just Midwest stuff. And, you know, it's been pretty good. And, of course, Lima, Ohio, and all these other cities in Ohio. Dayton shows up a lot here. I get WHIO and the 1047 rock station over there, and Mansfield comes in there a little bit, but you know, it's been pretty interesting. And I think if you're interested in it, I think what you should do is, first of all, know your area and what stations are around you, and then tune to like a vacant frequency like 88.3. That's the most open band. Maybe you know, 95.7, because that's what WHIO is. And if you're in Columbus, you might get that, or anywhere around Ohio, you might get WHIO, and I can too on a good Tropo day. But I'm not going to go too long talking about the stuff I've gotten, because you know that would take a while, and I have recordings, so you know I can put those out. But I think, you know, the summer was pretty good for the most part. You know, obviously Paul ain't around because he liked summer too. You know, the pool was his hangout spot, just like me, because we'd hang out there all the time. And I used my GoPro a lot this year too, which I was glad about for filming stuff. And I gotta tell you, the most watched TikTok video I made so far was some point in May, around May, when I released a bunch of helium balloons and they got caught in the power line. And that video's on YouTube too. I'll link that below so you can watch it. But it's got that at least 200 and some likes with like 16,000 views, and a few people added it to their favorites, and it's been reposted. So if you guys like go to TikTok and you watch that, thanks. I mean, that video has been doing great. And of course there's other great TikToks which I'll include in my little compilation that I made. And it won't just feature my content, but the best content that other people I think made this year that stood out, at least to me, that I would watch all the time, you know. And that's basically what it's all about. Now, so I hadn't swum in the pool since probably like end of May because, well, first of all, Grandma's pool had problems, and, well, I actually swam at Mom's pool like at the end of May because hers was up the pool up in this house because we got the little above ground pool. And so I would swim in that. But this summer was decent, you know, despite the fact Papa wasn't here because he liked hanging out in the pool and doing all kinds of stuff. You know, the pool was his hangout spot as well. And we actually had a birthday celebration for him on June 10th. We had like a big friggin' party. Everybody was there. There was not one person that was not in the pool. Like, it was like crowded. There was not one person, not one kid that was in the pool. And there were some adults in there like me going in there, but it was friggin' crowded like crazy. Like, there was like everybody in there. And then, of course, I ended up scaring my aunt, you know, Amy, when she came, and scared her with the friggin' air horn. So that was funny. And then released some balloons after that. Most of the summer was pretty good. You know, I had fun in 4th of July, did some Roman candles, fireworks, and those rockets that I let off like 2 years ago, I still had some of those. And I also brought this lantern over to the Groveport Rec Center. So there was this lantern we found at the Phantom Fireworks, and this lantern it has a flag on it, but it doesn't make any noise, but it takes off and it's pretty cool. And we kind of put on a show because apparently people were watching, so that was kind of cool though. And everybody liked watching that on Facebook, especially on Reels. It was a lot of people watched that. But June was pretty cool for summer. It was started out pretty cool, and then eventually July was where it started to warm up. To kind of remind me 4 years ago. And of course we can't forget about the Canadian wildfires because a lot of the time the air quality was crazy, and it was kind of crazy for all the times the air quality is bad because. The worst was New York, was the worst of them all, and some other areas, but if you wanted to see downtown Columbus far away from you, I'd say hold off, because you wouldn't be able to see that with all that smoke. There were several rounds of the Canadian wildfires in June, July, a little bit of August, but it pretty much died down by then. And the crazy thing is, we had this daycare child center, and the kids still went out. So, I'm what are they still doing out there? Got bad air quality, and they're still out there. There's young kids we're talking. Kindergarten, first grade, whatever they are, they go out in the wildfire. What are they doing out there? They're young. That's not good for them. Well, not for any of us, but for them, they're young. So... Anyway, so it was pretty crazy there, and I also went to this private lake that someone we know owns a private lake, so we went there for a while. And then I told most of my parents went to Florida for a trip during the summer, which is crazy because it's smoking hot, and that's what we did last year. And then Grandma and I are hanging out the rest of the week and did stuff like the Ohio State Fair on the 29th and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was quite fun then. And they actually did come back on the 29th, and I came back to their house on the 30th that Sunday. There was still Tropo. I was still DXing through the summer and fall. Then I started doing those AI covers that were great. So that made it pretty cool to do. And of course, at this time I have at least 390 or 389 because it went down. But YouTube's doing pretty good. TikTok videos have been doing pretty good. Some of them get stuck around 200 some views. But those that did get more interaction with those videos are pretty good. But I did get a good use of my GoPro a lot, which is great. I went the Sweet Corn Festival. Thought I would shoot a vlog. Did a little vlog video, just going around and taking a look at the scenery and everything, and the people just having fun, and me having fun, and doing all kinds of stuff, though. So, it's what made it what it was. And it was a pretty good trip there, the Sweet Corn. I didn't end up going to Circleville because the friggin' rain was terrible that week, and so who wanted to go out there? I thought it would have been good because I wanted to shoot another vlog and record another vlog of that because I was out there last year. I just kind of sucked because we going over there, and I thought, how fun would it be to go on Thursday to the parade and do a vlog too of that too. But of course the rest of the weekend was bad because rained most of the weekend. Saturday even. We were thinking about going Saturday, but it sucked, so there was no pumpkin show for us there. And then, of course, I used my GoPro and other stuff to vlog my recent Florida trip, which was fantastic. I'm going to try to continue doing daily vlogs like that when I travel, because there's nothing really fun here that I want to vlog about, you know. Just me hanging out upstairs or downstairs, unless I hang out with the dog and maybe vlog about it there. But like, there's nothing really that good stuff to vlog, and like, unless I do like Christmas stuff, you know, if I go out places and do certain stuff, yeah, I'll probably vlog it, but I don't know if I would, you know, do anything else. So that, and you know, we just had, you know, tried to do what we can. And of course, you know, I still play that Deal or No Deal slot machine, which is something, last thing that Pablo got me before he left us. And another part of the year is trying to do everything, trying to keep up and do it all despite, you know, him not being around and doing and being crazy like we are, you know, because that's pretty much what we are. So it was definitely something. So I think, despite everything going on, at least tried to make it okay, even though it wasn't, you know. So I think that'll be it for this episode. If you enjoyed this, you know what to do. Subscribe and share this video around, and don't forget to watch the video. New Year's Eve will be, the TikTok compilation will be coming out, and I'll have the link below so you can click it and then turn on the reminders and add that event, so that way before it goes live, you'll know before it goes live, because that video is going to be great. And I know it turned out to be like 1 hour and 8 minutes, but to be honest, I try to make it as great as I can with the best videos that I love watching, and the videos that I've created myself, and not just stuff that I made, but other people have made as well. So stay tuned for that and more great videos to come, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.